So for this build, we're going to start a Damascus billet with 1095 1.5 by 8. So we're going to cut this up into 6-inch pieces, 9 of them, and then this is our 15 and 20. This is actually pretty thin, so we're going to double it up. We're going to have 8 layers, and then we're going to create a billet, weld the edges, and we should be good to go with the forge.
So I've heated my billet up to forge welding temperature, close to 2000 degrees, and I'm ready to set those welds with the press, and then start pressing it down, and then I'll start drawing it out to be able to cut it and restack it. So after the first set of forge welding of 17 layers, I've drawn it out and I've now cut and restacked it after grinding them all smooth and then welding them together. And now I'm dropping it into kerosene. It flows into the cracks just to prevent scaling. And then we're going to put it in the forge, add some flux to it, and start this all over again. So we're going to take it from 51 layers to now 153 layers. We're going to cut it, restack it, and forge weld it again. To go from our 153 layers to the 306 we want, we're going to cut the billet lengthwise, restack it on itself, and forge that. I've taken an angle grinder and I've ground grooves into the blade, about 1/3 through the blade. And then I'm going to press those down, and that will bring the layers to the surface, and that's going to create our ladder pattern. Here's the finished forging. I've got the bolster. I've got a lot of blade here, but I'm going to be cutting that down. I just had a little piece of rebar there to hold it at the other end. but I'm pretty happy. Like I said, I had a lot of blade here, but I wasn't sure that the bolster was in the right spot. So now that I know it is, I'm going to cut this blade down and reuse some of that steel for another blade. You'll see that in an upcoming video. But I'm just going to use an angle grinder, cut this off, and we'll have something to work with. The first thing I'm doing is just taking all the scale off the knife. That's that stuff that builds up from the forge, so we got to get all that off, and then we can start really refining the blade. So now I'm going to test etch the blade. What's in the black canister is ferric chloride acid, so I want to do a test etch, and this will be my first opportunity to really see what pattern I've got. I recently got a milling machine, so I'm using it for this project to mill the tang. So this is my first opportunity to use that, and it turned out really, really well. Now it's time to do the grinding, and I started by doing the transition to the bolster, and then onto grinding down the thickness of the blade, and that was hours and hours of grinding. I thought this part was pretty cool, so I thought I'd capture it in the video. This is when I'm normalizing the blade. You can see the shadow move across the blade, and I'm doing this in real time. I haven't sped this up or slowed this video down, so you really get to see that shadow move across the blade as the molecular structure of the metal changes. So it's finally time to heat treat the blade. So I'm heating it up to just under 1500 degrees, and then I'm going to plunge it into some special oil and see if it's hard. And luckily it does harden quite well. The file skates across it nicely. Now that the blade is heat treated, we can do our final grinding. So again, hours and hours of grinding. Time for the hand sanding. I started by sanding the bolster area and then moved on to the blade. Just like grinding, many hours.
Okay, now we're going to put together some handle material for this knife. First thing that's going to happen here is between the bolster and the handle, we're going to have this black, it's like a canvas or something, then a piece of copper, so it'll be black, copper, black. Then we're going to have this purple heart, and then again black, copper, black, and then this piece of African blackwood, obviously cut to an angle. So that should pop pretty good, especially with the copper on the edge. Should look pretty good.
I had some issues with timing on this knife and to know what order to do things in. This is the first integrated bolster I've done, so it was a bit tricky. So I had to put the handle on and then grind the bolster to shape to know I had a good transition between that and the handle, and then back to hand sanding. So I cleaned up the blade with acetone, and I've actually put some nail polish around the transition from the bolster, just so that the copper and the wood is protected, and I'll take that off later with acetone. So in Damascus knives, this is what you would consider the money shot, where you acid etch the knife after your final sand, and you really see what you got, and it came out really nice. Now I'm electro etching my maker's mark on the blade, which is the shark with the TK for Tyrell Knifeworks. I thought this blade came out really nice. I love the ladder pattern. My first integrated bolster also looks amazing. So I'm super happy with it, and I know the friend of mine who's going to get this is going to be super happy. He doesn't know it yet, but he's getting it. So super fun build. If you like this video, subscribe and like, and stay tuned for more.